Tom Jantol's work continues to amaze and enthuse people with his depth and ingenuity. His filming so authentic that we actually feel the emotion that we, the audience, become a part of. And Russell Boyd, someone whose integrity of purpose, high standards, and ability to make the engine of Second Life do things that no one thought it could do, set a new standard for film that NVIDIA will have to. Rules of the real. I have learned they exist. Listen up while we listen to Russell Boyd and Tom Jantol.
Is my sound working?
Take it away.
Yes, it is, Tom.
Take it
Okay.
away.
Hi, Tom.
Okay.
Hi, Tom.
Very much for that
And
introduction.
Hi.
Thank you very much for that introduction.
Tom, I guess we'll get
Tom, I guess we'll get right down to it. I think I'll be the first person who will not ask you to marry me. But I will ask you, what do you think makes a good film great?
You mean besides having Ricky and as voice acting?
Yep. That's a prerequisite, obviously, for the MachinimaExpo, but apart from
That's a prerequisite, obviously, for the MachinimaExpo, but apart from Ricky's voiceover, what makes a good film great?
Pooky's catering. No, sorry. I don't have a clue what makes a movie good or great. I worked as film critic for years, making movies for years, and I still don't know. It is especially difficult to recognize or even to choose right criteria for judging things in closed world as Machinima is. By closed, I mean the limited set of tools authors have, and far more dangerous closed Machinima mindset, but I think you are evil enough to ask me about that later. For now, I will say that Machinima movie is good or bad by same criteria as any good or bad movie of any form, of length or genre. I know it sounds generic, but I think it is important to say that. Good movie, for me, is a movie that's fully aware of itself, its story, that use exactly the right tool and right way, exactly that story. It sounds generic also, but good movie must be capable to make his own set of rules, almost like it is the first movie ever done, not assuming that you ever saw any movie ever before, no mimicking, no nothing, just its own story that begins with opening title and ends with closing title. That means that in a good movie, nothing is there by accident. There is no part, camera angle, or any cut, any decision author made in making the movie must be made for a reason. If you have a reason for everything in the movie, there is a good chance that you have a good movie. And if you balance your reasons with your story good enough to the point when viewer doesn't have to read your reasoning, but he can feel the story, then you have a great movie. Simple or complicated as that. But when I said that authors must make his own set of rules, he also must be aware that he can build or play or even broke rules only on top of the existing ones, rule of trade or rules of filmmaking rules. And that can be my first question to you, Russell. What do you think about the rules of filmmaking? How important are they, and when can they be broken?
I completely agree with you, Tom. It's all about the rules, but there are rules, and rules that have been developed over decades, evolved, changed. But the only really effectively way to break the rules is to know what they are first. And I'll say that again and again. Don't break them until you know them. It's like if driving a car on the wrong side of the road, you're going to make an impact doing that, but you're better to know that rule so you don't kill yourself in the process. It's all the best directors out there. I've seen many directors who have broken rules effectively. If you remember watching The King's Speech, consistently they broke the rule of thirds. Shock horror. How could you possibly have the actor down in the bottom right of the frame? But it was chosen for a reason. It enhanced his feeling of loneliness and separation just by breaking that rule. We don't expect to see him down in the corner, but he is. Kubrick broke the rules often, and one of the scenes in Full Metal Jacket in the training camp, he constantly broke the 180-degree rule. Again, you don't break that rule ever, but he broke it, and the effect was disorientation, panic, the audience not knowing quite what was going on. But that was exactly what was happening in the training camp with the new recruits. That was how they felt, and the audience got to feel a bit like them. So by all means, make your rules, break them. However, I've also seen lots of Machinima films where they're breaking the rules consistently, and it's not because they know they're doing it or why they're doing it. It's because they're being careless, and you end up having an effect of bad framing, bad continuity. It's not adding anything to the film. It's all about break the rules when it suits and when it's a good time to do it, but learn them first is a prerequisite. But that brings me on to the point that there are loads of people now making amateur films. The tools are getting easier to use, are getting better. We've seen the tools used here this weekend. Movie Storm, iClone, and all the games. You buy Call of Duty now, and you go run around shooting people, and you record it like that. There's a button to record it. And these films made by amateurs, they're not following rules. They're filmed terribly, but they're huge hits on YouTube. So really, my question back to you: how important is it really to gain that experience and learn the craft before making that film if you can get 1 million hits on YouTube?
You have a beautiful accent, by the way.
And so do you, darling.
Can you repeat your question about experience and ideas? Or
Sure. If people are getting huge successes with their shoot 'em up videos on YouTube, or if Charlie Bit My Finger got 100 million views and there's no rules followed, why is it so important to learn these rules if you can be a success?
Well, the road to hell is paved with brilliant ideas, I think. What is probably the good thing if you are the road for hell maker. But if you are a filmmaker, brilliant idea itself is not much, if anything, without experience in craft. Filmmaking, as any other art form, really is art built on top of the craft. And this always makes me laugh, really. We use term art in some not artistic field when we want to describe top level of craft, as he was an artist on football field or something. But to be film artist, many people think it is enough to buy iClone. It is not. Or to be more precise, depending what author wants from his movie. If he wants to make another half-brain video compilation of bad acting, pure camera work, nonsense cutting, and big empty nothing, then who cares about craft, trade, or similar small-minded rubbish? Especially if viewer number 2,000,001 wrote cool in the comment on the video. If that is what he wants, this 2,000,001st viewer, or to impress girl from second floor, then okay. But sooner or later, mimicking craft without really knowing any will hit him in the face, and this girl from second floor will go away. They do that, I know. Really, it is the...
Have you tried?
Oh, yes. Really, it is the execution what makes good ideas good. Filmmaking is very complex trade. We, in Machinima, are often one-man filmmaking band. We are one-person representation of these dozens of names and crafts on big closing titles. How to do that without some knowledge? And at the end, I think It is also disrespectful to the audience to make craftless movie. To take from someone 5 minutes of his life with bad movie is selfish, and it is a stealing. Maybe even worse, you killed 5 minutes of his life. I know it sounds extreme. I can be more extreme if you want. For example, taking all time of someone's life, we call murder, but taking 5 minutes with bad movie, we call, oh, he's just an amateur. You think how funny is that?
Yeah.
I think it is extremely important that we learn basics in the silence before going out with the first movie. And let's say that in a way we must become professionals even before we become amateurs. Okay, I will shut up now. I will leave to you to explain what does it mean to be an amateur.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, do please be controversial and outspoken. We're loving what
do you
say.
Agree with me? Tell me.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. This might turn into a real bromance at this point. Maybe we should have had some topics where we don't agree on. But yeah, it's learn the craft, be a professional. What is a professional? A professional, strictly speaking, is somebody who makes money out of their business. But that really isn't what we're talking about, because amateurs can act professionally, just the same as professionals can act like an amateur. I mean, look at the winner of the Expo, Big Streck's Haunter of the Dark. He's an amateur. He proclaims himself to be an amateur, yet that film is everything you would expect from a professional production. How it's all been handled, planned, scripted, executed, recorded, sounded, the whole range. That's what I call professional. Doesn't mean he's getting paid for it. I was thinking about this too, to try to see what is it that we expect of professionalism and amateurism, and really it is about expectations. You're working to the expectations of your viewers, or your expectations of the client if they're paying for it, or your own personal expectations, and that's what differentiates from being professional and amateurish. I say amateurish, not amateur. The amateurs out to have fun making quick films. They don't need to have high expectations. They're having fun. They're doing something, and their pals in the community all like it. They're willing to forgive some mistakes. You know, they might break the rules unintentionally, but it's just for their small circle of community, and that doesn't really matter too much. But if you want to impress that big audience, if you want to get outside your comfort zone, if you want to make sure you get paid by the client who's paying for the film, then you have to raise your expectations and make them higher. You have to act professionally in all aspects of the business. I don't just mean when you're holding the camera. That's just one part. It's the whole process, from the initial idea, managing the team, the resources, managing the budget, if there is one, the distribution, the marketing. These are all the professional requirements to make an impact and for your film to get out there. If you want to be an amateur, that's fine, and have fun. That's great and it's wonderful. But to really get out there for that wider audience, it's about expectations and professionalism. Now, talking about the wider audience, I'm going to bring this question back to you, Tom, and something that you've said quite a few times now, and that is that machinima must die. What do you mean by that? How dare you say that?
I knew you are evil. Evil. Oh yes, I often said that, and worse, depending on how bad is Machinima movie I just saw. If it is really bad, I could argue that Machinima is dead on arrival. But yesterday I saw some really good movies, so I will say that by dying I mean blending in, to stop exist as separate movie making form and to become simply animation. It is already animation, I know, but I'm talking about overcoming this limitation I mentioned before, I think, in first answer. These limitations are, of course, rubbish. The first one, limited choice and capabilities of real-time animation, tools, I think not problem. It is blessing because it make us more creative and original.
Yeah.
Just for illustration, if some confused soul here think that my movies are creative and original, let me tell you that I wouldn't be able to do anything in super capable programs as Max or Maya because I simply wouldn't know what to do with all that freedom. So boundaries are great. And that other thing, closed machinima mindset, well, if you have just machinima in your filmmaking part of the brain, go leave the filmmaking, try to collect stamps or something, and never look back. Let me tell you one thing more. At the beginning of my work with Machinima, I done a couple movies, 2 movies in Source Engine before I realized that I don't own my movie, what was a major disaster for my loving relationship with Machinima. But it was one sentence of one Machinima maker that I heard about that time, man was working in Source also, that had catastrophic impact for my feelings and understanding of Machinima. I stopped using Source Engine or any game engine and never used one after that. Man said, describing some mistakes and glitches in his movie, don't blame me, blame the engine. My God. This sentence was a bullet that still chased me around wherever I go, and judging by many bad movies I saw over the years, it still leaves the victims all over the place. So, my rant about death of Machinima, this blending in, is a result of simple fact that nobody outside of Machinima don't care in what engine or software you made your movie. All what people care is the final result. What is, of course, important only if we care what so-called outside people care about, but I think we should. Machinima authors too often use game engine or some dedicated real-time software like iClone or Movistar as an excuse for technical and not just technical mistakes. There must be, I hope one day will be, a jail somewhere for this kind of laziness.
That's a bit extreme.
For using, I know, but I think some of these people expect that from me, so be it. So, jail for laziness, for using only assets that come with game or software, to pretend that it is all right that your character doesn't have shadow in Second Life movies, even everything else does. I can't stand it. Extra step to learn some other software to complete shooting of your story in the best possible way. This is why I think Machinima must die, or to play dead. To start to use same criteria as any other animated form of or technique, to blend to the point of no recognition, so it can be compared to non-Machinima movies, good or bad. In short, I think it will be very healthy for Machinima to die. You see, I'm a good guy, really. Because we, the mighty real-time animators, have this beautiful chance to make some movies in real time. We don't have to wait week for rendering 1 second. So logical question is, what we are doing with this spared non-rendering week? I mean, how lazy author must be, better yet, how big ego some Machinima author must have to not spend this extra time of non-rendering for improving and polishing things. But filmmakers' ego is theme by itself, so I will leave this to you, Russell. I mentioned ego of the bad filmmaker, so tell us what you think. Do you need to have an ego to be a good filmmaker?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because we have been discussing ego very briefly in the chat window on the live stream, yes. And we obviously have to be very careful what we're saying now because we're going to end up in jail if we do things wrong. So I'm treading very carefully close to you here on what I say next.
We can imagine a jail. It will be enough if authors of Machinima just imagine big, ugly, dark jail for mistakes they done in the movies, it will be enough. Sorry,
Okay,
Russ.
just maybe just the professionals. Those who proclaim to be professionals can go to jail, and amateurs can have fun. But ego, yeah, ego. Yes, absolutely. We must have an ego. Isn't this what drives us?
I have it. I have it.
Really? No, could never tell. we must have an ego. Any kind of performer needs to have an ego. It's one of the main reasons we put ourselves out there, to satisfy our egos. Not just filmmaking. It applies to acting, singing, football stars. Even teachers. I used to be a teacher, and that you get a great ego boost of performing to a captive audience when you're up there. But I will quote something which Philip Rosedale said, who was the creator of Second Life. Also a man who is clearly ego-driven, if you've seen him or heard him talk. But he was humble enough or sensible enough to say, you have to allow your ego to take a hit so you can see the truth. Don't ever let your ego allow you to become self-delusional. That's the danger of ego. When you're so full of yourself, you think you're great, that you become self-delusional. You've got to take a hit sometimes and just realise, that could be better. That was crap. That wasn't great. If you let your ego rule yourself, it's the absolute worst thing to your art. But in the basic, we are people of ego. That is a basic construct of the human psyche. So anyway, I think we're about wrapping up time. Before we get to questions, though, if there was one piece of advice you'd give to filmmakers apart from stay out of jail, what would it be?
It will be, don't ask me any questions after this. I don't know answers, but okay. Advice. I knew you will be asking me this, so I was thinking what to say. At first, I wanted to perform usual, learn, study, watch everything, then learn, then study. But this goes without saying, and I will leave to you to say obvious things. Instead, I will steal one sentence from some movie I saw recently, when one character said about chess playing that it is the true that you have to know 10 moves ahead to be a good chess player, but a really good player must know only one move, the right one. I think it is a mistake to think that we can film some story in many, many different ways. There is only one way, the right way, of course, to tell exactly that story. Because if you know what you want to say with that story, what is important in your story, what and where are highlights of your story, if you know what tools you will use, if you, and this is extremely important, bend your story to fit a tool, not other way around, assuming that you know weaknesses and strengths of your tool, of course, then you pretty much already shaped your movie. Just stick with that shape. It is a halfway made movie, halfway finished movie before you even make first shot, if you merge or blend your story and your tool. Oh, I'm so witty on this strange language.
And good looking. And good looking. This has been absolutely stellar, and we're all hanging on your every word. And so in the final say 4 minutes or so of this session, the audience is asking to know, and first we'll ask Tom and then Russell, if it's all right.
But Russell didn't give any advice for us. We don't have time, or what?
Would you like?
I wanted to ask.
That's fine, Tom. You can either tell us some of your favorite films, or you can give us some final minutes of advice. And I have a feeling most people would like the latter.
Russell, you can give your advice now.
Okay, I'll make my advice very quick.
I said it is fair to hear Russell. Please, Russell, do.
Thank you. I'll say it very quick so we can answer a question too. I'll just quote a blog I read about 2 years ago when I was just starting to get into the professional side of making machinima. And it was a blog post made by Kate Fosk and Mike Joyce on Pineapple Pictures, and it was titled, "Grab the Tail of the Hype Monkey." Don't let your own hype take over what you're doing. Get hold of that hype monkey and look at what you're doing rationally and make it the best you can. You do that, don't fall to your own hype, you're on the path to becoming a great filmmaker. All right, Tom, so you can now quickly answer, which are your favourite Machinima films?
My favorite Machinima films? I don't know. I really stopped a long time ago. I don't look Machinima movies at Machinima movies. I watch movies. I don't know. If you ask me about this Expo, of course the winning movie is really great. My movie is really great, if I can be so humble, and few more. But I don't care for Machinima movies much. I care about movies. This is very important, and I must repeat that all the time. To hell with Machinima.
Yeah.
Long life animation. That's the future of Machinima. What the hell Machinima is really. Outside of the game. Sorry, but this is another topic. Okay. Good movie is good movie, bad movie is bad movie. That's all. For me. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Oh no,
So we never want you to, never. We want you guys to have your own program called Talking Fraps.
Okay, good idea.
Well, you guys are really wonderful, and I do want to ask you one more question, and this is from Frida Kao, who's a wonderful member of our Machinima community, and she said, do you think that Machinima is seriously being reviewed, considered as an increasingly viable animation genre, especially regarding the expense of developing assets? And I copied and pasted that question directly.
Okay, I will answer. Russell will answer, but I will say just one sentence. I don't know what it means. I don't understand the question. Intentionally. Like I said. I don't know what means Machinima. We are talking about real-time filmmaking, what is nonsense by itself. Even game engines are not real-time engines. It's just the rendering in technical meaning before we saw pictures. Many people here knows that. So today in Max or Maya, you can have a real-time recording of your doing. So where is Machinima? I don't know, in second, third, or fifth life. Okay, I will shut up again. Russell, please, can you answer this?
Again, it's down to expectations. It will never compete with Hollywood movies because the expectations of the audience is for top-class CGI. But there are lots of smaller markets, independent markets, places, education, training, small animation, small cartoons, funny stories, and the non-fictional use as well we talked about today earlier. There are applications certainly there for the tool of real-time animation or Machinima, I believe.
All
you
right.
see, you are smarter than me.